Cartoon fans, illustrator aficionados and just general Oslo lovers, welcome to the Wheeler Centre event, which has to have the title of the year, I reckon, Folking Pun. I wish we had fingerprints on that. We don't. Before we begin the conversation and I make formal introductions, I would like to acknowledge that we are meeting today on the traditional lands of the Kulin Nation, and I pay my respects to their elders past and present. Welcome one and all to Folking Pun. My name is David Astle. I make the occasional crossword, and accompanying the crossword is the cartoon page. And in fact, it's really lovely to finally meet your neighbour, though Oslo and I have a history of about 7 or 8 years, forged by the love of cartoons. Now let me introduce the man to my left. His name is Oslo. That is how everybody knows him, Oslo Davis, if you want to be more formal. He is, of course, the cartoonist beloved in the Age and overheard section in the Sunday Age. You will know his work from the monthly, perhaps. He's just the new back page gig. He's got regular coverage in readings, both on bags and in catalogues. You will see his work in the likes of This Annoying Life 1 and 2, and today's book that we are celebrating, the new book, is called Drawing Funny. If you could make welcome Oslo Davis. Now, first question, I would imagine that rain is the funniest weather. Would that be right? What's the funniest weather?
Well, it would be because it's miserable. So anything related to misery and discomfort has got comedy written all over it, I would think.
Well, what's that about? Why are things that are kind of like annoying where the funny lives?
Well, it's strange, isn't it? I think we have a knee-jerk reaction to taking pleasure in something that's happening negative, possibly to other people. So someone slipping over on a banana peel or getting splashed by a car driving past while they're waiting for a bus.
So we knew about Schadenfreude even before that word arrived from Germany. Hey, we should also, tonight there is a chance for you to win this very book with a caption contest. And there will be ample scope for you to ask questions and suggest your captions as well. This is the caption. Right there.
Yep.
Yep. Now, what do you want? You want to sort of give us any background or wording? Is there any kind of footnote?
Yeah, well, we're probably all familiar with the New Yorker cartoon caption contest on the back page. So we thought, David and I thought we would have a stab at it for this event. We're going to be talking about cartoons tonight, and I think what we talk about will help you come up with a cracking caption for this one.
Yeah, so don't jump too early, even though you might think you've got this absolutely, magisterial pun. Sometimes puns are not where the fun lies. As much as I would love to embrace that idea, the dad joke is not always the funniest joke in the room. So we will revisit this cartoon, but get your eyes on it now and try and lock it into the memory, because this will be the cartoon that we're trying to come up with the crispest, funniest caption, and the winner will receive a copy of Drawing Funny. So before we begin the slideshow formally, because there are some great Oslo cartoons to celebrate, and looking at the Oslo kind of artistic process as well, I should talk to you about this Badlands of Brooklyn. That's a suburb of Burnie, which is where you grew up. Just so no one really knows, not many know, that actually you do come from the down there on the Apple Isle.
Yeah, I used to go on about I was from Brooklyn, a cartoonist from Brooklyn, which is very New Yorker, and for a while there I was, assuming that I was really from New York somewhere. But Burnie has a suburb called Brooklyn. It's right next to the old pulp mill that has been shut down. And I was born in the Burnie Regional Hospital, which has now been demolished.
Oh, that's sad. Is there a plaque there or something?
In the rubble. No, I think it's a car yard now.
But you couldn't get out of there quick enough. I mean, it wasn't too long after you graduated from Burnie High that you found yourself in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Maybe that's where your story really starts.
Well, that's right. I was a kid in Wynyard, which is near Burnie, went to university in Launceston, studied English teaching, was an English teacher for a few years, got sent to King Island and the west coast of Tasmania, and
As punishment, or
for the term of my natural life, and couldn't wait to get out of there, and quit and left and travelled.
so the kelp was a call for help, but enter Vietnam.
Yeah, so I travelled and I took my sketchbook and I drew everything that I saw, and I would sit on the street side and look across at the old colonial French villas that were crumbling all around me and draw them. I was probably working over there, meant to be working or doing some sort of AusAid volunteer stint, but in the downtime I was sitting around drawing street scenes.
Now, don't be offended by this, Oslo, but I'm going to have to say that actually looks like a work of art.
I don't know. I never studied art. I never studied drawing. I never had anyone tell me what to do in terms of putting a pen onto a piece of paper. I debated going back and going to art school, but everyone said, no, just do your own thing. So yeah, and eventually we're going to jump back to this, but it zips forward probably 20 years, and I'm doing this sort of stuff.
What happened?
I don't know. So I put these two slides up at the front because the contrast probably just, it couldn't be more stark. So I started sitting and drawing and sending little zines back to my friends and family around the world and in Australia. And I put these little things together. And they were street scenes. They were pictures of people sleeping on trains in Tokyo and the fish from the market and things like that. And the jokes started to come into these things. I think that's where it probably
So why did the jokes start coming in? What was it that prompted you to bring the... Yeah, I mean, was it that the reason? Is that the reason that we just heard, that kind of response? Is that you're looking for more of a response to your work?
Yeah, I think so. I think the pleasure I got and the response I got from drawing nice pot plants and people on motorcycles and cyclos in Asia had its limit. And soon enough, I was drawing these people, but adding something else, adding a stupid line or a caption or something ridiculous, and trying to make my hungover friends and girlfriends laugh. That was pretty much it.
In fact, speaking of girlfriends, your future wife saw your art before she met you. It's a pretty scary prospect.
Yeah, that was weird. I put out a little book and of my street scene drawings, and later on a good friend of mine said, well, you ended up marrying your groupie, which was kind of cute. So yeah, that was fun. But I would sit around in cafes and draw pictures out of National Geographics and add little speech bubbles to them. This is one of the first ones I did probably 15 or so years ago.
Could you read that line out? Maybe a few people can't see that.
Yeah,
line.
I like to call it my tankards cartoon. So it's all these people in the Middle Ages or Elizabethan times perhaps, and they're sitting around drinking at an inn, and one of the guys says, come on, Jason, tankards is all we've got. And he says, I just don't like them. But who likes tankards?
He's kind of like a proto-hipster, I'm thinking. Now, the other thing we shouldn't neglect is there, scribbled at the corner of the cartoon, is Oslo. Now, if you really want to go back to Badlands, Brooklyn, you were born Paul. Why did you plump for Oslo?
Yeah, well, Paul is my birth name, and so I took on Oslo just before we were about to have our first kid, and my wife and I were talking about names, and we were watching Big Brother, and there was a character on Big Brother about 12 years ago who was called Geneva, and so we started riffing on this idea of European names that could conceivably be male names, because we thought we might have a boy.
Yep.
And
what about Bratislava?
Liechtenstein. Hit on Oslo. And as it happened, we had a girl, and I thought, well, I'm going to take it on myself because it's a good pen name.
So going on to this is actually quite a momentous cartoon for you. Could maybe tell us the background about this cartoon.
So this was the first big work I had published in the Age newspaper, and anyone who's ever had anything published for the first time in a newspaper where tens of thousands of people back then would have looked at it. It was extremely nerve-wracking, and it was an article in the Saturday paper about blogging and new media versus old media, and I just struggled with it, and stressed over it all night, and basically went back to the old trick of copying a National Geographic cartoon and adding a stupid caption. It was my only way out. And if you can read it, he says, "Hang on, I'm just updating my blog," and he's sitting on one of those old letterpress linotype machines.
So that, what year? Is that sort of late 90s, is it?
Yeah, it must have been around, early 2000s, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that stress that you're describing, has that dissipated, or is there still that kind of anxiety and redrafting at the 11th hour now?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think it has to be a necessary element to have that stress. It can't be too easy, otherwise you churn out lazy work. There has to have that element of danger, I think, or do or die-ness to it, I think. So yeah, you can see it in people's best work, that I think stuff that has really made them wring their brain out to come up with something is better than something they can just prattle out.
And if someone had to come up with a really funny caption, for example, what would you suggest to them, Oslo?
For our prize?
Any particular cartoon, but possibly if there was a large cat, for example, in an airliner, where would the fun and funny lie?
Well, we can talk about it later, but I think the thing with that one, people can at least start to think what is often said on a plane. That might be a good place to start.
Okay. All right, let's plunge into your work.
Okay, so fast forward a little bit further on, and I'm drawing gag cartoons. So gag cartoons, as people might know, are, well, best described as New Yorker cartoons. They're pretty much an easy setup of drawing and maybe a speech bubble, usually with a caption. Single picture contained, the whole universe, a whole story is contained in this one frame. So this is a puppet. I'm not going to explain all of these cartoons, but this is
right. What does it mean?
And it's the only reason we'll talk about it is if people can't see it. But so I'll zip on a little bit further.
Okay.
So this is my process, if we can talk about that.
Yeah, the black box.
So a little bit about how I work. So every day I'm working pretty much day and night. I have these things by my bedside, notebooks. I carry them around in my bag. Everywhere I go, I'm sketching, noting. Then I take it back to my studio and I sit down with a massive white piece of paper in front of me. Lots of space so I can do lots of mistakes and scribbles. Drawings, words, whatever. I usually fill up these pages with captions that I'm trying to get right. Sometimes a drawing, sometimes birds fly in, sometimes other things get combined with other things, trying to get the phrasing right, different things like that. For some reason, I was looking at this time those heaters that are around the streets of Melbourne in winter.
Oh, yes.
Someone with
Gas
a
burns, yeah.
banana lounge sitting next to it. And this one specifically, I was thinking about Venn diagrams. The guy who created that thing, it was his birthday coming up, like 100 years since his birth or something like that. So I thought, well, let's just think about Venn diagrams for a while. So my Monday morning cartoon time was thinking about circles and connecting circles and things like that. So I pulled out this paper and I sat down and I drew heads and circles and round things and started overlapping them and, all the while trying to make sure or hope that something clicks. And eventually this famous one came out, which I was quite kind of happy with, Venn diaphragms. Although I showed this to some university kids a few weeks ago,
yep.
and I actually thought they probably don't even know what a diaphragm is.
Well, that's very true.
Do people know what a diaphragm is these days? I don't know.
And even a Venn diagram might be a little applied too. There is that quote, one of the cartoonists saying that drawing is thinking. It seemed as though you are almost sort of doodling in search of the right idea. Would that be a fair description?
Well, yeah, that was a famous quote by Milton Glaser, I think. And he rightly said that the idea can often come from the mere act of drawing, because the brain is working in a new way. Mm-hmm. It's not dealing with language, it's dealing with shapes and images and things that are possibly living in another part of our brain. So by drawing, we're actually thinking in a new way, in a different way. And I always forget that. I mean, I always try to find a language solution to a drawing. But this is an excellent example of the drawing coming back to me as the Venn diaphragms in that way.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to talk about a few sort of ways into cartoons, if that's all right. So these are tropes, and we all know tropes. Tropes are these kind of standard, kind of jazz standard cartoons where people draw stuff that's familiar to us. So the guy on the desert island, one sort of trope that I often go back to are these two people hanging in a prison.
Actually, just put the handbrake on that. Wasn't that the one that actually provoked the most flack in your cartooning career?
Yeah, I don't get much feedback, but this was very nice to get some feedback about this one. So these are two guys, kind of like the Monty Python guy in the prison with a long beard, and he's hanging by his wrists for eternity. And next to him is a notice for a farmer's market this Saturday or this Sunday. And the guy says, "Haven't we suffered enough?" And the president of the Victorian Farmers Market Association sent me an email saying, "I don't understand this joke by Oslo. I can't tell if he's being serious or funny." Yeah.
Did you reply?
No, of course not.
No,
but
you didn't. Right.
I printed it out and gave it to a friend who has this cartoon framed with the response next to it,
great.
which is kind of nice.
So you kept that trope pushing. You had a few other trope ideas here.
Yeah, so what's this one? I can't believe it's already April. People who use fit balls, so it's good for my back. And this one here.
So what is it about a trope? Why are they so popular? What do they do in a cartooning context?
Well, I think they're the easiest way to connect with a viewer. So that all the work is done for you. The history of cartooning is all behind you, and you can all just meet together in this sort of common cartoon. We all know the rules, we know the setup, we know the history, we know the situation inside out and back to front. So the challenge then for a cartoonist is to put their own spin on it, I think, and to say something new or to show their skill at sort of being really fancy with it.
A fresh tweak somehow.
So witches are a trope, and they eat babies, as we know. And this is sort of tied in with a bit of a political sort of anti-abortion thing, but not really that funny. And here they are again. So the witch's cackle is kind of cute.
What would be the dating app for witches? We'll have to think about that. I'm just thinking, Tinder or Cinder almost sounds like it is ready for witches. And that's the other thing too about tropes. They almost can give you a little bit of insulation because we know it's already in the realm of the absurd. So you possibly could get away with a line that would be a little more pungent if it was set in, in reality, so to speak.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said for the fact that people are already feeling funny by looking at a cartoon or even a trope cartoon. It's a bit like having a few drinks before you go into a comedy festival gig. You're kind of primed and ready to go. The guy walking through the desert, the hipster. And of course, I'm nobody's favourite, the horse at the shrink. Which leads me into animals.
They are funny.
Animals are funny.
I mean, animals are funny, full stop, just watching their behaviour. But to think that they can talk too, that just suddenly, transcends.
So horses are funny. Horses in a human context, something a bit sexy. There's something funny about that. It's not a race. You can't see it, but there's a bead of sweat on the darker horse's brow there. Okay, and so this is a sequence of drawings where I wanted to do an animal cartoon. I wanted to do a cartoon about a chicken.
So this is a rough. This is you kind of stalking the right ideas.
Yeah, so this is a bit of a process series. And so I'm thinking chicken.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking something, maybe the chickens are talking, and I'm thinking free-range chicken.
Okay.
So this is my little task that I set myself, and hopefully after 1 hour I will have a joke. So I start out, and I would have done that big piece of paper task.
Mm-hmm.
I've sort of whittled it down to this image where guy's bringing home a chicken saying, and the mum saying, "So Peter tells me you're a free-range chicken," like he's bringing home his girlfriend. And then I moved it because I thought it might be funnier with Peter bringing in the chicken into the room. Mum, Dad, this is Penny. Penny's free-range. I'm looking for something here about the idea of what free range is.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking, is it kind of, I don't know, a badge of honour, perhaps? Or maybe even something a little bit sort of sexy? Mm-hmm. I don't know. These are all sketches which never saw the light of day until now. But have you ever had free range chicken? So it's getting a little bit rude here. But I didn't go with it. I, used my decorum and common sense. Trust me, you can never go back when you've had free range.
So you do have this. You do have a filter. It's good.
Yeah, there is a, and this is a pretty good example of the filter at work because I'm not sending these in as final works, but I still feel as though there's some joke there. There's something. A little bit dirty, but not too dirty. It's something a little bit cheeky. So I'm finding my way with all these. So then I bring in the hen, and the rooster saying, "I've heard you're free range." So maybe I move it back to the two hens. Maybe there's a joke with the hens. And so I'm moving over here, and this is the final one. I can't help the feeling he only really likes me because I'm free range. So it doesn't mean that she's now sort of, sleeps around the barnyard, but it means that there's something special about her.
It's still there, but it's much more playful. It has a gentleness to it that the others didn't have. So it's a really nice insight into how that the joke just graduates into the final payoff. And of course, let's get into more animals because
the pigeons.
We can't get enough animals.
So I might whip through some of these. Stop pigeonholing me. He only knows the downward dog. A yoga move. And this one's always been popular. You fulfil all their emotional needs and so they can fulfil all mine. Which sort of leads into, we talked about the rain at the start.
Yeah, because Oslo and I got to know each other through a love of New Yorker cartoons, which I suggested earlier. And it was both of us grew up with the New Yorker magazine. Or I grew up and Oslo discovered them while he was in Asia. And one of our favourite cartoonists is a gentleman called Bruce Eric Kaplan, B-E-K, who is a writer on SNL and then a writer for 6 Feet Under and a few other things. But one of his quotes and one of his precepts is you look for the annoying because the annoying is where the funny is. And I find that a really interesting idea, that something that does irritate, you can flip and make funny. So is that how you kind of sit down and think what bugs?
Yeah, well, he said in an interview that he sits down at his desk every morning and tries to think of all the things that annoyed him up until that point. Like it could have be everything from waking up to the conversation he had with his wife to getting the newspaper on the front lawn or whatever. But there's something delicious about annoyance that's so ripe to be sort of bitten into. It's so full of complexity and if we see annoying things in cartoons, and we also feel those annoying things, we feel some sort of relief that other people are being annoyed at the same time.
Because I guess annoyance is like a low-level irritation, so you've already got some emotional purchase in the idea or the topic. And what a cartoon offers maybe is a remedy or a tonic, a different way of seeing it, or at least a chance for you to, vent your frustration in laughter. So let's see a couple of the annoying cartoons.
So some of my friends female friends give me fashion tips on people women will wear tights. So tights aren't pants. People who wear harem pants, there was a big feature in the paper about people who wear those baggy harem pants, and this is from the Polder Zeitgeist. I'm just here to tell you that your harem pants are like really daggy. People who tell you their dreams, so I thought it would be really funny for dream catchers to complain about dreams. And more pedestrian, I guess, the guys who take up 2 seats on a train.
Yeah.
With the man spread.
Yeah.
And, in the office, a paper jam. Would you like me to jam this paper even more so someone else has to sort it out? And this is happening to us now in our house, teaching our kids maths. And the only reason you learn maths is so you can teach your future kids to learn maths.
Or get venn diaphragm gags in about 15 years' time.
And taking kids to childcare. I know you feel sick. You know you feel sick, but childcare doesn't need to know you feel sick.
Yeah, annoying works.
But there is that relief. There is that yes. I certainly feel it with a lot of the New Yorker cartoons. It's just like you are now solidifying everything that I've felt, but haven't been able to express.
Now, confession time. Have your kids or your partner ever given you the yellow card for a little bit too much, drawing too much of the Oslo family life into the square?
I think so, and they're pretty up for it, and they do like to see it reflected in a cartoon, especially my kids. They think it's hilarious that something that happened in the kitchen around the dinner table turns up in public. That's a bit of a thrill for them.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay.
Back to this for a little bit.
And while we're just maybe your last chance to really lock into that while we have a bit of a chat. The one thing I noticed in a lot of your cartoons is there often is a peripheral character or two who are part of who are almost implicated in the cartoon, even though they're not playing an active role. What's that about, that idea of that extra body in a cartoon?
It's all part of the scene-making thing of cartoons, but these silent observers, I think to a degree, stand in for us. That they are people who, like that guy there sitting in the seat across the aisle is me or you or someone watching this unfold. It kind of puts us in the cartoon a little bit, I think. It's not a conscious thing, but it's all part of this sort of drama making of the scene, which is, I think, is important.
And the other thing that cartoons, often when you go into a friend's house or maybe a kitchen that you've not been in before, on the kitchen there will be shopping lists, there will be kids' schedules, and there often is a cartoon. Have you had a cartoon or two that has been a little bit of a touchstone for you about where you think, like it's a bit of a sacrament, it's a cartoon that you think really embodies what you're trying to do?
Yeah, well, I gravitate to those cartoons that don't make any sense. I think the best ones for me, and we've got some of them. I've got some of them lined up at the end. Yeah. But the best ones for me are just off-the-show nonsense kind of cartoons. And one that I always remember is one by Bruce Eric Kaplan of sort of a landscape, and then up in the sky is this woman, and she's sitting in a really big bra, and she's talking on a phone. She says, "Yes, I have this amazing new bra." And it's just scooting across the sky. It's so stupid. It doesn't make any sense.
The ones that usually get become jaundiced on my fridge, just glued together by the watermelon magnet, is they're often semantic, funnily enough. And one that I think it was Julia Stiles who came up with. It was an Ali Baba gag, and the 40 Thieves, and he's standing outside this big rock that blocks the cave. And one of the thieves suggests, "Have you tried open_sesame?" That just withered and weathered on my fridge for about 8 months. Yeah. Anyway, so we move on from cats and airliners into what people say.
the things that people say. So this could be something that you use to help with your cartoon caption solution.
Yeah.
Fall back on the things that people often say. How's your hangover? The guy with the the hangover literally. Things that are fully sick. I saw a Twitter person with fully sick, but they spelled it double L. And
No, it's actually the linguistic blog for
is
fully
it?
sick.
Yeah, well, they should be single L, shouldn't they? With the
Well, it's
sick,
true, actually. Yeah, I should remind them.
Slept like a log, Pinocchio. It's not you, Claire, it's me, bad grammar. And this guy here thinking he's working on a reply with a connection to the mobile phones and texting. And juxtapositions. Let's race through these. So damp or cold, a game show. I reckon these jeans are just cold.
So that is a gorgeous... I mean, making it a game show is just brilliant. I'm going to have to say, that's a wonderful cartoon.
The senator... See, horses are funny.
The horses are funny.
The toast with the toasters, tough crowd. A chicken at getting his at the dentist. These are rare. So it's basically the trick here is bringing two wacky things together into one place that obviously they don't belong together, which is similar to this one here, using art.
Which is a trope in itself, isn't it? There's often, a tribute to a masterpiece, and then there's often an image we know well, a brand or an artwork that the cartoonist manipulates.
Yeah, the New Yorker does it very well with all their fantastic galleries and artworks there that they riff off. A stack of videos looks like hard rubbish, but is possibly video art on the run. Napoleon with his hand and with his foot in this case. And his wife, Josephine, rightly saying, I think it's, just the hand here.
Yeah, choose one. Choose one.
In the book, I mention how just having Napoleon with his foot in his jeans is okay, but putting it in the context of a wife giving some fashion or advice to her husband, which is what wives should and rightly do, I think that makes it a bit better.
Yeah, it does. It's a lovely cartoon.
Batman, Superman, and Glenn from accounts. And Glenn's telling them they've got to add GST to their invoice. You can't beat Glenn. Glenn's going to win, I think, in that one.
And this is it. I mean, we are stalking towards what would have to be the Grange Hermitage of cartooning, where basically the image does all the humour. Tell us about sort of trying to find those little specks of gold.
Yeah, well, I think I'm speaking for all cartoonists here in the world, pretty much everywhere, who by saying that I think wordless cartoons are the upper echelon champagne cartoons. So cartoons that can do something funny without having to rely on some explanation through a caption or a speech bubble. Something that becomes almost kind of graphic or... almost like an icon that's sort of twisted on its head. This made it to the cover of the book.
See, I didn't get that at first. I just thought that was kind of like two portraits, but it's actually the whole flip down it really sneaks up and gets you. Beautiful.
Yeah, there's something. I think what the cartoonist is trying to do, perhaps, is to create some space, some sort of levity and lightness to it. So, the silence really comes through because there's obviously no words there, but hopefully it's something in itself beautiful in a way. I think we've got a few of these. This is a rock concert, people with their phones.
Yeah. Yeah, Pet hates. There's that annoying one.
This does have words, but I still think it falls into the wordless category of merging left. I love those guys. I think they're
I do
great.
too, yeah.
Another word one, but... and one that's snuck in for Easter. and one for readings. Yeah.
It's a sign.
We'll move on.
Yeah, let's just roll on because we do have.
We just have a few more.
We've got a couple of top fives, and then we've got some question time. So.
Yeah, cool. I put in this section here signage or messaging or something that we've seen in everyday life, like this one, a school concert program. I don't know whether you can see it, but down at number 39 is.
Anyone who's been to the interminable recital will know this one. Oh, that is gold.
So these are a great place to start because it's a setup. It's a bit like a trope. There's sort of a format to it. There's a road sign for whom the toll, CityLink tolls. It tolls for tolls for thee. Another one here.
Yeah.
Smug sense of self-righteousness and. The Australian Post logo is, of course, a sign of a snail, which I can't believe nobody has really identified before.
As soon as you see it, you can't unsee it. And I'm surprised you didn't get some kind of, litigious letter from Australian Post. No such thing. Didn't even get a peep.
It's their logo. So,
yeah, it's probably in the mail, actually.
Yeah. Botox emojis. Moving on. We'll just whip through these. So I want to just leave this last collection of cartoons that probably came about like from the Venn diagram example, I guess, just from doodling, breathing in and breathing out from the Banana Lounge. Barbecue-shaped shapes. It must have been done before, and it may well have, but, we're not...
You did it best.
You just can't, just do it and hope for the best.
And the boom tish dad joke.
Yeah.
Now... let's just...
no. You want to go through the last ones?
No, I think how rude. Yep. This is really important.
So this is the last section I put in. This
is the trigger warning.
Yeah, so for anyone under the age of 35, to be careful. So some of the sort of rude or risque or just death and dying and illness and, weird growths. Tattoos, trust me, it'll date, and he's got an Elmo. I'm not a tattoo fan, so this was kind of easy for me to do. And the last one, I think I've got here. They raided his house and found literally millions of kids' names and addresses.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, he'll be okay. I mean, they'll get to the bottom of it.
It's all right,
I don't think there's anything...
Yeah, they've arrested the wrong man, darling.
Yeah,
He'll be back
it's
next
okay.
year.
He'll be fine.
It's okay.
There's some of those. So
now, we were talking about New Yorker earlier, and I grew up in a household that was surrounded by New Yorkers, mostly in my godmother's house. And the New York cartoons that I liked most, a little like Oslo, were the ones that were cryptic, were the ones that I could not understand. Now, I was 7 or 8 looking at grown-up cartoons, essentially. And what I loved was to think that if I could interpret a New York line or some kind of metaphor that was beyond my grasp, then adulthood would just open up to me. It was like almost unlocking the secret of being sophisticated. So these were the cartoons that dwelt with me. So this is one that I do remember from that period. So I was 6 or 7.
Have to read it out.
Yeah, don't worry, darling. You'll happen. Now, as a 6 or 7-year-old, that meant nothing to me and everything to me. I wanted to know what would happen and why he would happen and would I happen and what is this happening.
So these are cartoons that in this section here you've picked out 5. I've picked out 5 from the New Yorker, the ones that we like.
Yeah, look, and it was an impossible task. It was choosing your 5 favourite children, if you were Amish, for example. Now this is straight out of one of your readings catalogues. And in fact, this cartoonist, Dan Shanahan, it is Dan, is it not?
Danny,
He's actually in the top 5 of both of us. So he wins the prize for being, sort of our favourite, really. He does it's great artwork and very sharp lines. Number 3, ready to head back. It works. I love that it's absurd. I also love that there's a banner gag and then there's the double gag of the caption. Maybe he's getting 2 bites. Also, it's Robert Leighton, and Leighton, before he was a New Yorker cartoonist, was a puzzle maker. Did a lot of rebus puzzles in Games magazine. So I love the fact that he, as a kind of puzzle maker, could make the big time as a cartoonist. There's something aspirational about that for me even now to see that. Yes. I just love any gag that can pivot on a single word, like the underscore, like frenzy, and even in this week's New Yorker, with a big ice machine coming into a trattoria, and she says to him, "I told you not to order the Zamboni," which are those big ice clearing. Anything that can pivot on a single word, it has me absolutely smitten. So I think that's my 5, is it not?
Oh,
there
no,
you go.
one more.
Again, Diffie, I love his work. Matthew Diffie, you call this literature? The only thing missing there is the leather patches on the Resident. Okay, so what have you got there,
I've got
Oslo?
5. Okay, so my first is from Zachary Cannon.
Who does? He is the absurdist, isn't he?
He is great. He's one of the. He's been around for a few years now,
Yep.
but he, he writes for Saturday Night Live.
Yep.
I think he still does. I'm not sure, but just manages to tip it over into really crazy territory, I think. As does this guy, Edward Steed, who's a British guy. Fantastic, just really amazing stuff. So surreal, absurd. This explains the penis we saw downstairs.
Yeah. It's also very New York, isn't it? That whole idea of installations and, the kind of regarding critic.
I kind of see his work as being more sort of outside of all that. I think it's a bit more surreal in that, it could be anywhere. It's very, like, what is that room? What?
And his face too, the giant's face is brilliant.
Bruce Eric Kaplan. I'm trying to change the subject, but you keep telling me how you feel.
They're the kind of lines that he does. They're almost, quotes from an exasperated journal, and he comes up with. They're extraordinary graphics too. It's
beautiful,
really crisp ink drawings.
Michael Mezlan is one of my favourites, and he does these very sweet, gentle cartoons, but always have an edge, I think, and very absurd. You're cute, but you're trespassing, says to the little elf or whatever it is there. And Shanahan here, thanks for almost everything, Dad. Pat on the back. Dog walking away. It's beautiful.
In fact, dogs, there was, I don't know if it was a Shanahan, but it was one dog talking to another, and dog one says, "I don't know about you, but I have never had my day." So many of these are almost enduring images that should live beyond the page. Does it frustrate you as a cartoonist that you are in that kind of ephemeral space of a newspaper page?
Yeah, it is a little bit, and I guess that's why we do book collections. But people remember the good ones and they don't remember the bad ones.
Well, that's
bad ones kind of just disappear. They get forgotten almost as immediately as they're seen. But the good ones stick around. They turn up in things like this. They get cut out and put onto fridges. They get emailed to friends, all that sort of thing. Shown to your kids.
Okay, so
what are we going to do now? Oh, we've got some questions. So this is... I couldn't resist putting that one in.
Now,
Don't be afraid to.
Yeah,
ask
don't
a
be
que-
afraid. Don't take that personally. So maybe we put it back on the caption one because we're happy to take both questions and caption suggestions. Oslo and I will busily write down our kind of top 3 of the captions, and we'll be able to elicit the best from that. I should hasten. You did say a little bit dismissively that old cartoons become books. I mean, this is. Talking Funny is not just one of those kind of collections of cartoons. It has over 200 drawings, sure, but it's also, what I love about it, it is a peek into the black box that is cartooning, how to do it, how not to do it, the pratfalls and the pitfalls. And there's also this breakneck fantail biography of Oslo himself, from marrying a groupie to, just coming up with ideas and chasing the ideas. So it's a delightful book because not only is it the cackle factor, but also a really clear-eyed glimpse into the realm of cartooning and the craft of cartooning. So let's go for questions and captions. Happy to take either.
Yeah, I want to see if anyone's learnt anything
Yep.
today. So we can't see you, but I think if the microphone's on you, just go
You've got the
for it.
talking stick, away you go.
I'm here in the 3rd row, and I'd say just living the meme for the caption, but my question is for you to narrow down how you get to just one overheard comment, because I think in living a life, I constantly have like little Oslo Davis moments that I file when I overhear people. So
Yeah,
do you have a huge file of them?
Yeah, I do have a backlog, and which is nice because it sort of means that I don't have to scratch around every week so much. But I feel it's a bit like you. It's a bit of a curse, maybe. I feel as though I'm like in one of those movies where you can hear everyone talking at the same time. So and it almost drives me mental. But I do have a collection, and I also have a collection of really boring ones and ones that are just everyday, very pedestrian kind of ones.
That appeal to you,
which I think are fine. Yeah. And in fact, I don't always like it that it has to be a zinger every week. It can be just an everyday kind of how you going kind of overheard, which is I think is equally good.
It's actually it's been something of a mixed curse, if I can use that expression, hanging out with Oslo in the last couple of days, because suddenly I'm seeing things a lot more visually, and rather than just mixing up tandoori and firing turandot, I'm actually trying to find the joke or the visual joke in everything around me. And I haven't stopped eavesdropping ever since I've been, this whole week, looking for the funniest line. So that I do know that Oslo Davis moment you talk about. Yeah, curse you. Another question. Yes? I'll leave it to the...
I think if you've got the mic,
if you've got the microphone,
you can just
then,
talk.
Away you go.
My caption is, we don't do doggy bags, sir.
Oh, good. Yes, good one. Nice.
I like it.
Yep.
I'll take that as a comment.
A caption, slumming it today, Mrs. Bishop.
Political. Yes, they're in the front row. I'm not in charge of allocating sticks. There you go.
Just a question first.
Yeah, of course.
Are your the scenes about people, the lines you overhear, one of them was by a friend of mine, and they were going to actually open up litigation.
Okay.
No, but seriously, are they real lines that you overhear, and the name you just pick out? Is that correct?
Well, the name is not usually in them. I never put the people's name in the overheards. I usually just have their quote and where it was. But yeah, they are all real. And the reason I always say that, firstly because it's true, and secondly because I think it'd just be impossible to make that stuff up. And why waste my time trying to think about it when I can just get it from the real world? So,
in fact, on that topic of names, there is this spooky science when it comes to a name that's funny and a name that's not funny, which has something to do with cadence. Like in your book, you talk about Lisa is not a funny name, but Barbara is a funny name. And there was something really weird about that. Every name you put in the unfunny box, I agreed with you, but I didn't know why. So what is it about this, the funny names and the unfunny names?
Well, Larry is a funny name. I think because you have connotations to Larry Sanders and Larry David and maybe even Larry Hagman. There are these sort of Larrys in the world. So maybe there's something subconscious going on there with.
So is Jeffrey funny?
I don't know. Jeff might be funnier.
Jeff is funnier than Jeffrey?
Yeah, possibly.
I should actually have a roll call for you. Just say funny, not funny, not funny.
It's all in context and, the flow, as you say, the cadence of the line.
Yeah.
But it's very important to get the name right.
It's
I do have a caption too.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
There you
okay.
go.
The caption is, "Good morning. This is the Caption seating."
Oh, that's a yellow card, I'm afraid. Question there, I could see. Mm-hmm. Or caption, one or the other.
Caption?
Yeah.
Chicken or fish?
Very good.
Short lister.
Yeah, think about what people say on planes. Good place to start.
Yep. Here at the front, there's certainly a... has anyone got... Well, I beg your pardon. What have you got there?
Caption.
Yeah?
Can I have some personal space? I'm a cat. Meow.
Could you say that again, please?
Can I have some personal space? I'm a cat. Meow.
Can I have some personal space? I'm a cat. Meow.
Yes, that's right.
The cat speaking in that one.
I don't think you'd ever put a seatbelt on a cat. They just wouldn't be up for that, would they? It's like putting them in those plastic boxes. Yes.
Question. Given that you said that some of the ones you do are zingers or, really are the funny ones, how often are there ones that you churn out? I mean, you do a lot, but you didn't think they were particularly special. You thought, that's a good chuckle. But actually other people just go, that's really incredible, and just it really surprises you. It's the hit single on the album that you didn't predict.
Yeah,
Nice
they are a nice surprise, of course. But I kind of feel guilty that I didn't like it if other people like it. And I find I'm constantly trying to mash up my sense of humour with what is popular, trying to somehow bridge those two worlds together. And it's very difficult. Sometimes you do something and you think it's a dead set winner. There's no way that this can't be, on every front page of the newspaper for the next 3 weeks. It's just so funny. And then it dies. It's a dead one. Nobody gets it. Your wife doesn't get it. The kids don't get it. Your good friend doesn't get it. You're a failure. So it's really weird. I don't know. And I think the only thing is you just have to plough through it and just hope that over time things line up more than not and you get asked back to do them again.
Have you got a reliable Greek chorus that you can test gags on?
Yeah, well, I don't show stuff to strangers. I only show it to probably 2 or 3 people whose sense of humour I trust. And if they laugh, then I know it's good enough for me. I wouldn't put anything out on social media just to say, hey guys, is this funny? Because I've
known you for 8 years and you've never asked me to think of something funny.
No.
I've just realised that. That's actually a very backhanded Yes, middle of the room there.
Yes, you've got a caption here.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to politicise things. How does it feel now, Mr. Trump?
Geez, we're getting the political gloves on.
There, yeah.
I can see one. There's a hand up right at the back there. Yes, who's got the microphone there?
I just had a caption.
Yeah, sure.
Did you try the exercises on the back of the safety card?
Oh, was that cat's-a-size?
It was exercise, but it could be cat's-a-size.
I think he's just modified it to make it funnier. So there you go. I think you might have a chance there. Yes, there was one there, hand raised about sort of 5 rows back. Mm-hmm. Yeah, on your side there, on the window side, I can see a hand up, and that hand is now waving. Oh, okay.
Oh, getting confused. Okay.
I think just go for it if you've got the mic.
Yeah, I've got a caption. I've got a million of them running through my head.
Just
this
one
is, can I take your coat, sir, or madam?
Ah, okay.
Yep.
Yeah. The cat's
good.
coat.
Now, did you have one in the front? Did you have one? Yes. No. Your tail is causing havoc in the second row. Yes. Okay, yes, what have you got?
So could I ask you to stow your litter tray for landing, please?
Oh, that's good.
Ooh. I'm liking your chances, and there's
very good.
There's about 5.5 minutes where you may be trumped, so we'll see. Okay.
I think he ordered the tuna, but he's tuned out.
Leave those puns alone, people. Leave them alone. I know they're so tempting, aren't they? They're delicious, but you've got to let them go. One thing I didn't ask you about, that idea of sending in 2 ideas or 2 iterations of the one cartoon and asking the editor to adjudicate. Have you ever done that?
Yeah, totally. Especially when it comes to captions. I think the getting the flow of the line. Sometimes you look at it too much or you listen to it too much and you've lost sight of it. So you just need someone to come in and, as you say, adjudicate. Because they're seeing it with fresh eyes, bang, it's in their inbox, they can make a quick decision on which one packs the punch.
And speaking of the internet, we can talk about Twitter in a little while. If look like we're getting plenty of caption and questions, but that's another thing that has really kind of had impact on cartooning. I'm sure the whole kind of everyone's out there cranking out their own captions. Here's one here. Yes, what have you got?
A question?
Yep.
You said that your overheards are real, but do you ever accept overheards from other people?
Only from trusted sources. So just for fear of someone sending in stuff they've just thought up. So wives and good friends. Wife.
Okay, you heard it here first.
An army of wives.
Yeah,
out there
this is being recorded as well.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, there's one there. Microphone heading your way.
I have a caption.
Yeah.
Why do you worry about turbulence? You have 9 lives.
Oh, yes, good.
Yes.
Yeah, 9 lives. There's something in 9 lives there, perhaps.
Always something in 9 lives. Yeah. Yes.
I have a caption. Sorry, the nearest exit doesn't have a flap.
Yeah, the
Not
cat
bad.
flap.
No, it's good. That's on my shortlist. It's still daylight with litter tray. There's we will have to kind of.
We can wrap it up in a minute.
Yeah. 1 or 2 more, and then we can head into this brave evening. What have you got there? Yep. Well, maybe the last question, and that is, where next? I mean, are you sort of trying to, be emperor of the cartooning world? Have you got sort of cartooning ambitions, or is cartooning the kind of the be all and end all for you as a creator and as an illustrator?
I think it's something you can do forever, as long as you're still doing funny stuff. I really loved that the late Leo Cullum, who used to draw for the New Yorker, he was a pilot. He used to fly 747s around the world, and whenever he was in the departure lounge, he would sit down and scribble fantastic cartoons, and some of them are the best archetypal New Yorker cartoons you could ever see. So I think it's something that I could do, or anyone could do, while they're doing something else. So I don't feel any sort of worry about it, except I think I might hit a limit one day. I might hit a kind of I've done it. I mean, I've churned out as many jokes as I can possibly do, and that's it. But I don't know, so far so good. I'll see how it goes.
Just don't take up flying lessons, then we'll all worry. So that's it. I don't believe it. This is a man who has the mercurial mind, the art of finding the funny in jumbo-sized pepper grinders, in Elmo tattoos, in just this annoying life around us. He somehow alchemises that day-to-day experience that is Melbourne life, or that is the puzzle and the swamp and the joy that is humanity. So he is this person that you have been admiring from afar. It's been lovely to have an hour with him. If you could make Oslo Davis, show him some gratitude.
Thank you.
Visit wheelercentre.com for the best in books, writing and ideas from Melbourne, Australia and the world.